Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're exploring something I think we all feel, that choice, between stepping back from all the noise or diving right into it.
Yeah, that classic dilemma. Do you seek peace by withdrawing or find it somehow in the chaos? It's a deep human tension.
Exactly. And that's really the core of our deep dive today. We're getting into chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita. It's often called Sannyasa Yoga.
Right. The yoga of renunciation.
And it tackles this big question head on. Arjuna asks Krishna, basically, what's better? Giving up action altogether or doing things, but with detachment. It's a question you listening might ask about your own busy life.
Absolutely. How do we find that calm without just, checking out completely?
So our mission today is to unpack Krishna's answer, which is, well, pretty fascinating and maybe counterintuitive. We want to challenge the usual idea of renunciation.
And show how this ancient text actually offers some really practical ways to find inner peace and be effective right here, right now.
Yeah, because the central theme that emerges is that real renunciation isn't about leaving the world behind.
No, it's about freeing yourself from attachment while you're fully in it. It sort of flips the script.
Okay, so let's start there. Arjuna poses this question: renounce or act selflessly. How does Krishna respond? Is it complex?
Well, his initial answer is surprisingly clear, actually. In Shloka 5.1, he says both paths, renunciation and selfless action, they both lead to liberation.
Okay, so both work.
But, he adds, of the two, karma yoga is superior.
Karma yoga, selfless action, is superior. That does seem counterintuitive if you think renunciation means, like, ultimate spiritual practice.
Right, and it immediately tells you something important. Krishna warns that just giving up actions physically, like just stopping what you're doing, that's not really it.
It's not enough.
It's not the true essence. Real renunciation is internal. It's about your state of mind, not just your physical circumstances.
Ah, okay. That's crucial. Because we often have this image of a renunciate, don't we? Someone, maybe living in a forest, wearing certain clothes.
Exactly, the common stereotype. But the Gita gives a much deeper definition. Shloka 5.3 is key here.
What does it say?
It says, he who neither hates nor desires is truly renounced. Think about that. Free from dualities, he is easily liberated.
Neither hates nor desires. So it's not about where you are, but about your inner reaction to things.
Precisely. It's about finding that inner balance, freedom from that constant push and pull of, I want this or I hate that, craving and aversion.
That's the real sannyasa. It's a state of mind you can cultivate anywhere. That's kind of revolutionary.
It really is. It means you don't need to escape your life situation to find this freedom.
So you're saying you could be dealing with, I don't know, a stressful project at work, but if you approach it without intense craving for success or aversion to the difficulty.
You're practicing inner renunciation right there. And that's exactly where karma yoga fits in so perfectly. It embodies this.
Okay, connect those dots for us. If real renunciation is internal, how does karma yoga, staying active in the world, actually achieve that same peace? Because that's what people want to know, right?
Right.
How do I do this in my actual life?
Well, Krishna explains this in Shloka 5.7. He says something like, one who is united with yoga, who is self-controlled, pure, and sees all beings as the self, such a person is not bound by actions.
Not bound by actions even while performing them.
Exactly. The key is performing action without ego, without attachment to the results. When you do that, Krishna insists you attain the same inner peace as someone who is formally renounced externally.
Wow. So it really isn't what you do.
It's how you do it. Your work, your family life, chores, anything can become a path if the how is right. The action itself becomes a tool for inner work.
That reframes everything. It gives so much meaning to daily life. How does Krishna illustrate this? Is there an image he uses?
Oh yes, a very famous and beautiful one, the lotus flower.
Ah, the lotus.
He says, the wise live like lotuses in water. They are fully in the world, but they remain untouched by it.
Right. Lotuses grow in muddy water, but the petals stay clean, water just beads off. They're in it, but separate somehow.
Precisely. And Krishna connects this directly in Shloka 5.10. He who offers all actions to the divine, abandoning attachment, is untouched by sin or the binding consequences of action, like the lotus leaf by water.
So engage fully, give your best, but offer it up, let go of the attachment to the specific outcome.
That's the essence. Be in the world, but not of it. It's practical advice for handling, well, anything, work stress, relationship dynamics where you need to be present and act, but don't want to get dragged down by the results.
You act, but your inner calm isn't dependent on the outcome.
Yes, and this detachment is directly linked to peace.
How does he make that connection explicit?
Shloka 5.12 puts it plainly. The one who has mastered yoga and renounced the fruits of action attains lasting peace. Lasting peace, Shantim.
Uh,
But one attached to results is bound. If you're clinging to how things must turn out, you're setting yourself up for inner turmoil.
so the core insight for you listening is, it's not about doing less, it's about clinging less.
Exactly. That's the key takeaway for modern life.
And there's another element to this piece, isn't there? Something about seeing things or people differently, this idea of equality.
Yes, Samadarshana. It's introduced in Shloka 5.18. It's quite radical.
How so?
It says, the wise see the same divine self that a Brahmin, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and even, the text uses the term, a dog eater, someone considered an outcast.
Wow. So seeing the same fundamental essence in absolutely everyone and everything, regardless of outer form or social standing.
Exactly, this impartial, unified vision. When you truly cultivate that, it naturally dissolves judgment, comparison, and a lot of the basis for attachment and aversion. It leads directly to a profound inner peace.
Because you see the interconnectedness, the shared divinity. That makes sense. It removes the us versus them.
Fundamentally, yes, it's a basis for deep calm.
So we've talked about karma yoga being superior, true renunciation being internal, the lotus analogy, detachment bringing peace, this radical equality. What's the ultimate promise here? Where does this path lead, according to Krishna?
Well, near the end of the chapter in Shloka 5.29, Krishna offers this powerful culmination. He says that the person who understands him, the divine principle, as the ultimate enjoyer of all sacrifices and efforts, the Lord overseeing all worlds, and crucially, as the friend and well-wisher of all beings, that person attains peace. Shantim.
Knowing the divine not just as powerful, but as a friend, a well-wisher in everything.
Yes. That deep understanding of your relationship with the divine source, seeing its benevolent presence everywhere, is the ultimate source of unshakable peace.
So let's bring this all together for you, our listener. Krishna isn't forcing a choice between escaping and engaging. He's showing how they merge.
He integrates them. True sannyasa, true renunciation, isn't about abandoning your duties.
No, it's about doing everything you do, but with this inner spirit of surrender, offering it up, free from that desperate need for a specific result. You're active, you're engaged, but internally, you're free.
Finding that profound peace right in the middle of your life, not despite it, but perhaps even through it.
So the question for you to think about is, does this idea of inner detachment feel possible in your life? How could understanding inner renunciation maybe shift how you approach your own goals, your work, your relationships?
It's definitely something worth pondering. And next time, we're going to delve into Chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga.
The path of meditation.
Exactly. Could focused stillness be the key to unlocking even deeper power and peace, especially for those of us living very active lives?
We'll explore that next time. Join us for another deep dive.